Hey, it's Natasha.
And Khalil.
And we are the co-hosts of
WokeNFree.
Thank you for tuning in to our 103rd episode of WokeNFree. If you've been tuning in every week for WokeNFree Wednesday, you know that WokeNFree is all about being real and honest with each other and you. We talk about everything and anything important to us, you, the world, and nothing is off the table. This week, we're talking about something very serious, and that is whether people have the right to commit suicide. So, before diving into that yellow brick road of a journey of conversation, a couple of questions to ask you. First, we're not sure if you've noticed, but WokeNFree is now being hosted on Podbean. So what would we love for you to do? Check it out. Go to WokeNFree.com. Listen, download all your favorite episodes you haven't listened to, and make sure that you are as WokeNFree as possible. So we would greatly appreciate that. Next, we're not sure if you're also subscribed to the show on other platforms, so you can always access WokeNFree on iTunes, on TuneIn, on Stitcher, on Google Play, on our YouTube channel, on our SoundCloud account, on iHeartRadio. Either way, we want you subscribed away to WokeNFree, so please do. And again, thank you. We greatly appreciate your support. If you haven't shared an episode recently, this is a doozy, guys. So make sure you go and share away. It's super easy to do it on WokeNFree.com. Thank you, Podbean, for making that super fun. And then, of course, if you aren't connected with us on social media, you can always holler at us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and even YouTube at WokeNFree. And you can share, breaking news. You can share what's on your mind. You can even book time with us on Facebook and Instagram if you want to holler and collaborate with us on your upcoming events. So let's chat, guys. And then lastly, if you haven't reviewed the show on any of the platforms we're on, y'all know the deal. That's how podcasts continue to grow and build the platform for which they are. So we would love for you to give us your reviews. I mean, obviously it's going to be 5-star reviews, but nonetheless, we want them. Right. So please take a couple of minutes, review the show on iTunes, review our show on TuneIn, on Google Play, on Stitcher, any of the platforms that we're on. And thank you again.
That was a mouthful.
You know it.
Each week we like to share a little bit about us before we dive into the topic for the episode. Last week we shared, when you get a headache, what do you do? This week we're sharing, do you prefer owning multiple devices or an all-in-one device that does everything?
That's an interestingly not interesting question.
Oh, you are interested in it then, because you did a double negative thing.
Double negation.
So yeah, that means you really love this question. It really gets your head thinking.
Yeah, it really gets my goose a little.
But you're excited about it too. You're like, wow.
I think you're the one
this is a real personal question.
More excited about that.
But you feel it's very personal and dear to your heart, at least. I could see it in you. Your heart's fluttering.
Oh wait.
That's your answer?
No. So my answer would be probably from an economical, from an environmental, and just from a mental space sanity. One device is probably better than having multiple devices. However, my biggest caveat with the answer is that one device has to be functional like 99% of the time. Otherwise, if I can do it in two devices and it be 100% functional, then I would do two devices. But if you can get it down to one device and it's going to work like pretty much every time I need it to work, then we're good. We're golden. We're good as gold.
Okay, if you say so.
Yes, sir.
That's what it has to be.
Come on.
Mine is definitely, I have to have one device.
Okay.
And the biggest reason is I don't have a purse.
Well, that's according to you.
No, I don't. And I'm not carrying around a purse.
Excuse me, what are you speaking on? Men's fashion is very much evolved.
What needs to happen is men's fashion needs to include pockets on your t-shirts. Then I could have thousands of devices.
Just giving out free ideas, huh? Nice.
Yeah, that's the fashion of the future. If there was more pockets and I could hold more devices, then maybe it would work, but it doesn't make sense. I don't have anywhere to place this camera, like a big camera. Where
have
am
you
I
heard
putting
of
that?
A backpack, Khalil?
Yeah, you're not carrying that everywhere, though. You can just walk around and be free without it. If you just have clothes on, you don't have to worry about grabbing this pack. If you leave it somewhere, if you go into the airport, it's like a whole hassle. I like just being me.
You make me want to break out into share songs or something.
You know, it'd be cool is if they had like a tape-on pocket or something.
Nice.
You tape it to your skin, though.
Ideas. Nice.
No, but when you peel it off, you bleed, though.
Okay, we're going down a really weird road right now.
All right, then the last thing with one device that's good is at least you don't have to charge something else, right? It's one thing to charge.
That's true. Oh, that is
Because imagine you have
true.
30 devices and you're like, oh, I didn't charge the 28th device, so now I
feel
can't
like
do
people
everything.
are right there right now. Like,
Well, they struggle with one device, yeah. So
like,
there are people
one
that
Kindle
have not.
is lower. Well, actually, you just run. You have to go charge one.
Well, yeah, even for you,
Kindles.
it's hard for you to
Because I
juggle
have
5
two-
devices.
Yeah, it's a
I
challenge.
could juggle 30
Yeah.
devices, but it's not like I like doing it. It's very tough. So the
True.
one device that did everything, that'd be great. You know, that's definitely the way of the future.
Sounds
And
magical.
hopefully it works though. But
Yeah.
you want 99%? I say 90% of the time is pretty good.
99%.
90% is good. You can't have 50%, then it's not worth it.
Get
But
it
90% is good.
99.
90% makes most people happy.
Oy boy.
Now, we're just going to jump into the topic because you love that
Grazie.
question way too much. And
Oh,
you would
boy.
try to spend a whole day on it knowing you.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so we're just gonna move on now.
Oh boy.
You ready for it?
Si, senor.
Okay then. Well, you should probably start off with what is actually the definition of suicide.
Okay.
And then
absolutely.
if you have stats as well, you can fill in the WokeNFree Nation.
Yes, WokeNFree Nation. Let's get serious, but it's an important topic because it's something that's really affecting a lot of people here in the United States. Suicide, according to NIH, and also, guys, just in case you're new to the WokeNFree platform, all links and research that we include in our episodes are listed at WokeNFree.com. That is WokenFree.com. So, back to NIH. They define suicide as a major public health problem and a leading cause of death in the United States. The effects of suicide go beyond the person who acts to take his or her own life. It has a lasting effect on the family, friends, and community. When it comes to stats, I found some interestingly sad stats listed by American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, so AFSP. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. In 2017, 47,173 Americans died by suicide. In 2017, there were an estimated 1.4 million suicide attempts. And in 2015, suicide and self-injury cost the United States $69 billion. Again, 69 billion. All right. So this is a really not only tragic and upsetting situation, but it's an expensive situation or crisis rather that's going on in our country. Additional facts to be aware of. The age adjusted suicide rate in 2017 was 14 per 100,000 individuals. The rate of suicide is highest in middle-aged white men, particularly. In 2017, men died by suicide 3.54 times more than women. On average, there are 129 suicides per day. White males accounted for 69.67% of suicide deaths in 2017. And then in 2017, firearms accounted for 50.57% of all suicide deaths. Crazy.
Wow. All right, you hit it with a lot of stats.
Yep.
Maybe I'll just provide this at the beginning of the episode just in case anybody's struggling with this themselves. And it's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and that's 1-800-273-TALK or 1-800-273-8255.
I mean, I don't know how personal you want to get into this, but when it comes to the conversation of suicide, I mean, how has your life been affected by it? Just out of curiosity.
By suicide?
Yeah, like either people you knew, or is it something that ever crossed your mind? Things like that.
It's crossed my mind, but not from just like the idea of suicide, of like why people do it. Like, cause whenever I think of ideas, like any idea, I think about like cars, murder, any just general idea. I think about in my mind, what does that mean? Why do people do it? Is that right for you? Like the universe? Is that what life is really made of? So suicide has come up in that topic. I thought, like I didn't think, oh man, my life is this. I want to commit suicide. But I was like, if I committed suicide, what would happen? Like, I'm like, why do people think like suicide is an answer?
Yeah.
Is that like a easy way out? That's why people want to do it. So it just made me think. I mean, I guess that people they don't feel like they're wanted or that they're necessary.
Their life is enough.
Yeah, so I think, that's what I thought when I thought about suicide and what it means. But I didn't know anybody personally,
Who's
to
killed
commit,
themselves?
who's committed suicide. I don't know I don't have any personal, experience with that.
Okay. I mean, to keep it woke and free, I've never shared this publicly before, and I'm happy to share this for the nation. I think for me, the biggest way that suicide came into play is probably when I was in a very challenging part of my life as a early teenager. I was like 14 and my parents were divorcing and it was a lot financial crisis kind of going on. And I realize now that I was extremely lonely, and I think I was always really lonely between the ages of, I don't know, it was like 6 and 14 when I grew up in Manhattan. I didn't really have a lot of friends. I didn't really have a support system. And I was bullied from family members, from strangers, from people I knew at school. And when I thought about the idea, it wasn't something like I was like in the kitchen or in the bathroom with a knife against my wrist or anything like that. But I guess a little bit similar to how you're saying, like, what's the consequential thought of like, if you were to take your life, what would happen? But I think I also kind of glamorized or fantasized about the idea a little bit more because I watched a lot of probably inappropriate programming.
Oh, you saw programming.
And then I started
that's what I've seen.
Yeah, I started to think about myself, like, yeah, if I were to take my life, who would miss me? What would be the purpose? But I think for me, I never really explored the concept too deeply because of my strict Christian upbringing, which, I guess in that case is a good thing.
Wow. Well, yeah.
Kept me alive, right? Because the idea of flaming hell is a little bit scary at 14. Just a little bit, right? But then also wanting to know what's on the other side of loneliness, what's on the other side of sadness. And of course, there was your beautiful face. So I'm happy that I didn't, I was lucky enough to not have to dive too deep into it. But as I shared in stats, there are so many more people killing themselves than I thought. I mean, 1.4 million
maybe
suicide attempts, I believe it was. Yeah, 1.4 million suicide attempts in 2017. That seems really scary. Like in one country, like, whoa.
Well, I don't know what the stats I don't know what the stats are, but I wonder how many people had like clinical depression or something of the sort, where they're severely depressed. Because that makes it hard to give you the will to live.
I was definitely dealing with depression as well. Yeah. I mean, I was never, diagnosed, but I know that, I wasn't a happy child, so.
Okay, wow.
But, to continue on this conversation and really dive deep, and this is going to be challenging, guys. We here want you, Woke and Free Nation, to really think about this question. Do people have a right to commit suicide? Why or why not?
My answer is going to be bad. It's but this is my personal theory.
This is your personal belief.
Yeah, okay. My personal belief. I'm not condoning it and saying people should, but all we're asking about is the innate right.
Yeah,
that's all we're asking,
the ability. Right to kill yourself, yeah.
So technically, I think people are in control of their own bodies. So to me, a government doesn't have a right to control your body. Like, that's your temple. So the person themselves technically has the right to do that. Mm-hmm. Now, how they do it, there's going to be ways you do it, kind of like the physically assisted suicide, physician assisted suicide. Yeah. Like, I'm technically okay with that. With dignity, because and that's technically suicide. I'm okay with that to a certain extent. Suicide, like, it's not. I'm not saying like teenagers can get this, but it depends if they have a clinical or they have one of those terminal illnesses and they're in pain and they're like, you could take 30,000 medications, or we can help you just go in peace without in calmness and not in pain. I think they should have the option to choose that, even teenagers. But see, I'm thinking more on those levels. I'm not thinking on the level of, all right, I have nobody in school, my family is gone, I'm all alone, I'm a foster child. In that case, I can't say, all right, you should go and commit suicide. Technically, you have the right, but I don't condone that because you don't have a terminal illness. Everything can change in the blink of an eye. So in that case, I'd say don't do it. But in general, I think that people do have the right to choose, but you should only do it if there's like really like bad circumstances. Yeah, it shouldn't just be like, all right, I just want to do it. It's
like I'm not having a bad day.
It can't be that, or I'm having a bad decade. That doesn't count either to me. That's not enough because that's the thing.
Your life,
you can always recover. That's the thing. That you can always recover. Yeah. But if you're at the end of your days kind of thing, and that's what's been diagnosed, you do have the option.
So in theory, you're suggesting, or you believe that people not only have the right to take their own life, but they have a right to decide when that time should end.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah, that's what
Okay.
I believe. Because I believe
Outside
people
of
are there.
being, like, but only within the guise of medical treatment, you're suggesting. Not, I'm having a bad day, I'm depressed, my boyfriend left me, none of that.
Yeah, none of that. It can't be
Okay.
personal happenstances and
Okay.
events. It has to be a medical doctrination
Medical,
that
you are ill.
your life is
and
going to
you
be
have-
ending. Yeah.
And outside of that,
And you have a choice, and it's just the choice. Not saying you should, because
Yeah.
people have it turn around too. So that's why, really think about it, because sometimes things change
death is
around.
final.
Yeah, so this is a final choice, but I think you do have that choice when it comes to
Okay.
Well, I'm saying in general you do have the choice, but I suggest that if you don't do it for like a medical reason, like if you did it and you were just having depression, I think you were wrong to do that. That's what I would suggest. Like that was wrong to do it, but technically you still have the right. And people do that. We do a lot of wrong things.
So they have the right, but it was a wrong choice.
Yeah, it was a bad choice.
Okay.
I would think morally that was not the right thing to do.
Only because life can always be better,
Yeah.
not for religious reasons.
No, not religious.
Okay.
No religious
Okay.
tie. Just because, I have separate morals beyond religion. I just have a moral standing, and I don't think you should kill yourself based off of life events, unless it's a critical a terminal event.
It's a terminal
kind of like
medical
because now you're just choosing a different way to go. Like that's basically what it is. It's kind of like. I will pass in 3 months. Do I want to pass in pain or not? You have the choice to choose that. So that's where I think it's definitely okay. I don't think it's okay to do people like slitting their wrists and taking drugs, the gun
Shooting
thing.
yourself.
No, I don't believe those. I believe the government can control that. They could say, you can't shoot yourself. Like, come on, that's wrong. But the physician assisted suicide in that case, that could be okay. Yeah, that's just my personal belief, though.
Okay. All right. And again, under the guise as well of that the physician operating is not negligent in any way, and that he's doing, or he or she is doing what they need to do, and they're not like, because wasn't there weird stuff like
Michael Jackson, it was like,
so the doctor
I don't think
has
he really
to be
wanted
up to
that,
par in that process as well.
It's got to be made crystal clear,
and multiple people are involved.
Where everybody sees that, all right, this person did want that. It can't just be, you say this to the doctor nods his head and does it. No, it's got to be talked about with other. They should make it like you have to sign like 10 different papers. You got to get signed off by 10 people who say, okay, they actually did want this, just to make sure it's really real and not fake, and other nefarious things going on.
So I found an article on Psychology Today where they have some really interesting things that speak to this, and of course it's religious based as well. So according to the Roman Catholic Church, as listed in Psychology Today, they have long argued that one's life is the property of God, and thus that to commit suicide is to deride God's prerogatives. And the counter argument by philosopher David Hume is that if such is the case, then to save someone's life is also to deride God's prerogative.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. They also speak to, there are legal systems that have historically been informed by religion, such that in many jurisdictions, suicide and attempted suicide are still illegal. The very expression commit suicide implies or at least suggests a crime or sin. In late 2014, the Indian government moved to decriminalize attempt to suicide by deleting section 209 of the penal code from the statute book. Under the said section, a suicide bid could be punished with a prison term of up to 1 year. That's interesting.
That's not, maybe their prisons are different than ours, because people kill themselves in prison as well.
Sure, yeah.
Which that doesn't
they're
seem
dead,
like
so
an
you
answer.
Can't punish them, but yeah.
but I'm saying that it's like we're going to punish your attempted suicide by putting you in prison, where it may be easier for you to actually do it now.
Yourself, yeah.
That's not really great. Maybe you should go to like a psych ward or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if the prison sentence is the best, but I don't know Indian prisons, so I can't speak much on them.
The article goes on to say, broadly speaking, pro-choicers argue that a person's life belongs to no one but himself, and that his decision to commit suicide, especially if justified as a rational solution to real problems such as chronic and disabling pain, should be respected and assisted. In contrast, pro-lifers believe that a person's life is not his to take regardless of circumstances. Okay, very, very interesting.
Yeah, because pro-life is funny because I know there's still pro-war as well. So
Exactly.
Very interesting, though. Other people can take your life, but when you choose to do it yourself, it's wrong. I don't know, guys.
Exactly, yeah.
Let's think about that one.
Unlike most people, the article suggests some philosophers do not think about suicide in terms of ethics.
Existentialists?
There we go.
That's one way to say it, yeah.
In particular, turn the tables around by arguing that life has no meaning, and therefore that there is no reason not to commit suicide. Rather, a person must justify not committing suicide by giving his life a meaning and fulfilling his unique potential through this meaning.
What?
Weird. Very weird.
That's a whole, like, philosophy. It's a weird philosophy. It's a philosophy of nothing. But the problem with that is, if there's nothing, then why exist then?
Exactly.
I mean, it's questioning existence.
And,
but that's a little crazy.
A common argument.
That could get its own, like, episode. Existentialism.
Exactly. A common argument against suicide is that it's selfish and it harms the individuals and society that are left behind. For Hume, the philosopher I mentioned earlier from the article, a person does no harm in committing suicide, but merely ceases to do good. Assuming that he is under some obligation to do good, this obligation comes to an end with death. And even if it does not, and he is under perpetual obligation to do good, this should not come at the expense of greater harm to himself, that is, at the expense of prolonging a miserable existence for some frivolous advantage that the public may have perhaps received. In some cases, a person may have become a burden to society and so may actually do most good by committing suicide. In such cases, says Hume, suicide is better than morally neutral. It is morally good.
Wow.
Fascinating stuff, guys. Fascinating.
Interesting.
If you guys if you're not reading Psychology Today, you need to get up on there. There's some really interesting articles. So, I mean, it goes on and on and on. I mean, it ends with the following. Either death is an evil because it deprives us of life, or it is a mere blank because there is no one left to experience this deprivation. Thus, if death is an evil, this is not in virtue of any positive attribute that it is, but in virtue of what it deprives us from, namely life. It's it's fascinating. And my personal take on it is the following. It's like so challenging to talk about this because it's such a hard subject,
Yeah, it definitely is.
I believe the following to be true. Everything in our life is intentional. We choose to live and we also choose to die. We choose to be good, bad, ugly, and everything in between, consciously or subconsciously, as taught to me by The Secret. Which is, again, if you think about that, considering the atrocities that happen in this life, is a rough statement.
Yeah,
to say that you chose everything.
It's crazy.
Is
when you think about
really wild, guys. So if you can wrap your mind around that, then yes, you could understand the effects of suicide are harmful. Of course, I don't think anyone would argue leaving behind your family members, your children.
All right,
yeah, the effects of it is harmful. Do you have the right to take your life? Yes, because you have the right to do anything else within that life, right? You have the right to wake up. You have the right to do this. So yes, I agree with you. The right to take suicide is your own.
Yeah.
Is it the best decision to make? No, I don't think so because it seems to typically be oriented around moments, like you said, circumstances. I'm having a bad decade. I found out my spouse cheated on me. My children don't want me. Right? It's all circumstantial. And I think that because death is so final, can you make that final decision based on a circumstantial event, moment in time? No, I don't think that that's the best approach.
Yeah, there's still more moments you can have.
Exactly, because
you're eliminating the possibility of those moments for this lifetime.
Exactly, that terrible moment can turn into something glorious. It could turn. You never know what's
Maybe
on the other side.
Maybe you can give somebody else a great moment.
Exactly. So I agree with you. I think there are circumstances, medically speaking, I 100% support physician-assisted suicide. When you are no longer able to live a comfortable and well life, you should have the right to transition in peace and pain-free as much as possible.
Yeah.
But do you have the right to transition because your boyfriend broke up with you, because you're depressed, because you're dealing with other mental health or financial situations? Yes, you have the right, but is that the best decision for you? Is that the decision your future self would have thanked you you're taking away your future because you are making this final decision now. So
the only problem is if you believe in multiple lives, maybe you think that's a way to get to your secondary life faster.
That's where it gets very tricky then, because, yes, we're transitioning in this life,
You're
but
forcing
is
a new
this
transition.
your final and one-time life?
You are listening to WokeNFree.
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 A podcast that keeps it real and honest.
Just think about it. If it's proven you have multiple lives and you can get to the next life faster,
you would kill yourself then.
Yeah, some people may say it's a way out, so that's why it gets tricky.
Peace out, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because I'm going to be a frog next life, something like that. But I
can finally be an elephant.
Yeah, see. But you gotta, that's not the answer because here's the thing. eventually you're going to die anyway, right? So you
Well,
just
we're all
can't
to
ride it
live is
out.
to die, so
Yeah,
yes.
you can't ride it out like really it was that bad. That's what I'm saying. It was not that
Well, for
bad
some
that you
people,
have
they
to.
feel like
They
this
feel
is
like
the
that's
only option. Like they can't tolerate it anymore. It's too painful.
Like from bullying.
Because you know what it is? It's emotional pain that's killing them. It's not even sometimes.
Well, it's
not
emotional,
physical.
yeah,
And,
because it's like the social
yeah.
media bullies when they continue
and
to bully
it's
them online.
really- yeah,
it makes it tough.
We've
You
both
can't
been
go
bullied.
online.
It's not
Yeah.
okay. It's not an easy thing to deal with.
Yeah,
as well.
it feels really crazy, and
Yeah,
it feels like
it's
it'll
awful.
never end.
Yeah, but there's always another.
There is a light
brighter
at the end
day.
of the tunnel.
Yeah.
There can be an end to it, believe it or not. You may not see it, but it can.
You
there
can
be
move.
better.
You can change your identity. You can
Change your identity,
who you
yeah.
are, but there's always a way to get out of it.
Yeah, there's ways around it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you think that we should deal with suicide in the future, and how does it differ than we're dealing with it now?
So based on the stats that I shared earlier in the episode, I think, there definitely are resources, right? The fact that we have a hotline, the fact that there are groups and support groups and organizations out there supporting and acknowledging that this is a medical crisis going on. Again, if it's the 10th leading cause of death for Americans, that's huge, right? It's not 20th or 30th. 10 is dang high up on the list, if you ask me. So, I think that the support is there, but I don't think the other side of it, right, is there. So suicide prevention is easier to effectuate if you have things in place that support mental health for people in a way that is easy and free and highly accessible, which it is not. It is a cost.
That's the problem.
It is it is something that also not all people and not all communities accept. It is not. We're not there with
To be
mental
detrimental
health.
to your job.
Yes, exactly. And as both of us in our careers, it's challenging
you gotta be
to
very
just
careful.
to even say the sentence I have mental health concerns is that could be really problematic depending upon who you are and where you work. So until we address mental health more accurately and appropriately in this country, then I don't think the suicide prevention efforts are what they could be. Additionally, I would say for future support, the best way to go about is first, I think we need to understand some suicide misconceptions. And so on Help Guide that I found, and again, all links you can find on the episode at WokeNFree.com, here's some misconceptions that we as a society need to be aware of. Myth. People who talk about suicide won't really do it. Do you think that's true or not?
That's people who just talk about it won't really do it. I think that's not true. If you
False.
talk about
Okay.
it, that's false.
Okay,
What
so
did you get?
fact is, almost everyone who attempts suicide has given some clue or warning. Don't ignore even indirect references to death or suicide. Statements like, "You'll be sorry when I'm gone," "I can't see any way out," no matter how casually or jokingly said, may indicate serious suicidal feelings. So we as people need to, when kids are like, "You're going to be sorry for that," take them seriously. Like,
But what if they mean you're going to be sorry for that because they're going to get you next time?
yeah, maybe.
Sometimes they're
going to
come after you.
But if they're implying that they're no longer going to be on this earth, we need to think about that as more than just, they're dramatic, right? Like they might be having a tendency to want to kill themselves. Let's address it. Next myth. If a person is determined to kill himself or herself, nothing is going to stop them. True or false?
That is false.
So even the most severely depressed person has mixed feelings about death, wavering until the very last moment between wanting to live and wanting to die. Most suicidal people do not want death. They want the pain to stop, the impulse to end it all. However overpowering, does not last forever. Right? So there's that. Another myth that people need to be aware of. People who die by suicide are people who were unwilling to seek help. True or false?
That would be false.
Studies of suicide victims have shown that more than half had sought medical help in the 6 months prior to their deaths. So people need to stop assuming that suicidal people are people out here who aren't trying to deal with what's going on, that they're just so selfish, that they're just so callous. No, they're in pain. And what do most people do when they're in pain? They try to seek help. But maybe it wasn't enough or it didn't work, right?
Yeah.
Next myth, talking about suicide may give someone the idea. True or false?
I believe that is false.
You don't give a suicidal person morbid ideas by talking about suicide. The opposite is true. Bringing up the subject of suicide and discussing it openly is one of the most helpful things you can do.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
That's something, and my parents, I don't remember them ever talking to me about suicide. I feel like I would have been slapped in the face if I had even mentioned that I was unhappy, or I mean, I definitely know I was scolded for discussing unhappiness or sadness. So I couldn't even imagine what the statement of suicide. I mean,
I don't know. I wonder how you even like address that. You're just like you're sitting at a family dinner and you'd be like, "So what's your take on suicide?" That's what you say to your kids.
Oh Jesus!
I mean, like how do you broach the subject? Or if you're watching it in a show, you're watching the Netflix special, 13 Reasons Why. That makes it easier to talk about it, right?
Maybe that's
if you watch a programming, it's a lot easier. If you're
maybe
just sitting,
consume some content that's relevant to the subject, and then
that.
at the end of watching it, because no one likes anyone who talks through shows. Shut your mouth, watch the program, and upon completion, you must talk about it.
You don't want them to comment on the colors on the screen?
No, so tacky. It's so tacky, guys.
Keep those thoughts in your head until the end.
Keep it in your end. Write notes.
Yeah, see, there you go. That you give a good alternative. Write your notes down.
Write your notes down, and once you're done with the episode or the movie, then say, "Hey guys, what did you think about that?" And then once you hear from your kids or whoever you're in the room with, then you could even say, "Have you ever thought about this?" Right? And and it's a judgment-free zone. I think parents and people, when we're speaking to each other, we need to really come from a place of judgment-freeness, because I think a lot of people are scared to share how they feel, as we talked about even with the secret Trump supporter episode, that people are so afraid to be lashed at and beat down emotionally or physically.
Well, yeah, they're
from sharing their thoughts.
Physical violence. Yeah, that's why.
So we have to, you can't be
more accepting,
so stifling and what do you mean no?
Don't attack the person. Hear them out.
Yeah. So I think, first step for moving forward is let's talk about these myths that we just talked about in the episode, and let's get people aware of what's true and what's not true when it comes to the conversation of suicide. Next, there are some warning signs that I think people should be aware of, like average day people, so that when you hear people at work, when you hear people in your family, you know what the F is going on with them. So Help Guide shares the following signs of suicide. Talking about suicide, again, we mentioned in the myth, right? That might be a warning sign to look out from. So maybe you want to talk to that person.
Yeah.
If someone's seeking out lethal means, so seeking access to guns, pills, knives, or other objects, could be used in suicide attempt, which is a little bit tricky because some of these people are looking to hunt. So,
if they're getting a hunting rifle, it's not going to say maybe they're suicidal.
Yeah,
say that.
But if they're getting a gun and they also told you they can't stand life anymore, that's maybe like a triggering thing that you should be aware of. Someone's preoccupation with death. So unusual focus on death, dying, violence, writing poems or stories about death. That's
what about drawings? They didn't say that.
They didn't, but that could be that could definitely be a cue as well. Someone who doesn't see hope for the future. So feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, and being trapped, there's no way out, belief that things will never get better or change. I think that's probably a sign for depression as well
that gives you that clue.
That self-loathing, self-hatred, feelings of worthlessness, guilt, shame, and self-hatred. They feel like a burden. Everyone would be better off without me. I know I've heard that phrase from people. So that's not so great. People who are getting affairs in order, so making out a will and stuff like that, which I want to put a caveat to that.
With the will part.
Everyone needs to get their will together, guys. It doesn't mean you're trying to kill yourself. But if you are doing it, and maybe, I think in this article, what they're suggesting is maybe in some type of urgency, or oh my God, I got to get things together. You're planning for a trip that you're no longer coming back from. Maybe in that sense, but general estate planning is a healthy thing to do, guys. I mean, that's, just that. Saying goodbye, right? Unusual or unexpected visits or calls to family and friends. That's probably a sign from this person, right? If you haven't talked to them in 6 months and they're giving you their farewell talk, that's suspect. Withdrawing from others, right? No longer wanting to spend time with friends and family.
That's depression too, right?
Yeah, that could be depression. And I could also say maybe that person's leveling up, man.
What if they're looking to meet different people? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't talk to a lot of people that I used to talk to 2 or 3 years ago. It doesn't mean I'm trying to kill myself. I'm just leveling up.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to.
It doesn't necessarily mean that.
In the sense of I'm spending more time doing what I need to do, not with people that I don't enjoy their time. So, but it's something to think about. And then also some self-destructive behavior. So I think by by being able to, and there's more that's listed on the article. You can definitely check it out at WokeNFree.com. I think being in touch with understanding myths and misconceptions, being unaware of kind of warning trigger signs is really helpful. And then I think, and you and I were talking about this as well, we as a society are just too disconnected. It is a lot harder to kill someone, and it's a lot harder to harm someone that you know and that you like and that you're friendly with. And I think we're all walking around just in our own little bubbles, not talking to each other, texting and messaging. And I'm not blaming social media, but we're using the tool.
It's been before that.
Yeah, we're using this tool to just detach from each other, and I think it's putting us in a dangerous position. So I think that something has to be done about it. I don't know what that's going to be, but if nothing is done about it, we're gonna have more and more suicide attempts, because more and more people are not gonna give a shit, because we don't know each other and we don't talk to each other or even seemingly like each other.
Yeah,
so
we need more of a connected community approach.
Oh God,
where people know each other and actually think about people on the street.
It's challenging.
Yeah,
it's very,
instead of
very
saying I don't know that person, I don't give a damn about them.
Yeah, we should take the approach of every human being you see, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. If you like someone's hair, tell them they look pretty, not in a Me Too issue way, but just
careful with that.
Yeah,
one.
I know.
Compliments.
You can say you like their glasses.
I don't know. That
you're
might
not
be against
taking them and stomping.
Yeah,
them,
that
though.
might be HR rules though. Again, because you're
obviously
features.
live within the protocols for which you're working and living in. But I think that we've got to find ways to connect a little bit more, and that we shouldn't be so fearful and disjunctive from each other. It just seems, I don't know, it just seems more disconnected than we were when you and I were 10 and 12. It seems like a different world. I don't know. It doesn't seem the same.
I think it's easier now not to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
You can have that option.
We spend days not talking to any other human being other than each other.
Yeah, it's actually easy to do.
And that's really interesting that we could live in a world like that. That's fascinating. What's your thoughts?
I think it all starts when the people are younger. So when they're children, I think that schools should probably take on the task to actually get people to know each other. And that would that's one way to build the connected community. Yeah. So if schools force children as an assignment or something to know something about a random school classmate, that could be a thing. Then you rotate that out where you learn eventually all your classmates' name and you learn something fun about them. And you do maybe a presentation about each other. So you kind of build this bond. This is, this is a classmate and this is what they do. This is where they come from. You kind of just know about people. Yeah. Because we I think all of us done those presentations when we were younger, and we look at another country or something, and you kind of, I don't know, maybe you did that. I know I did that where we all had a country and we had to find out information about the country. What if you had to interview your classmates, right? And if it was a continuous thing, you were always doing that.
Every 2 weeks you have to interview a new person. Every week actually, you interview a new person. You get to know your classmates. I think that's lovely. I mean, and then the journalist in me. And then
I would do that for the assignment, and I would go beyond, and people would be mad. But even at lunchtimes, I would not allow cliques. I would make it so people have to sit with different people.
Cliques suck.
It's really a bad thing. This happens.
Yeah, because why? Because
society does this. It becomes cliquish, and people form their own groups, and they don't care about the other group. It's like, my group is better than yours. Even though, guess what, guys? You use the same resources. You live in the same town.
Exactly.
You're not a group on its own. Yeah. You're at least a part of that town. I mean, come on, at least.
Everyone's a part of the community.
But people like to form cliques within their already community.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, we see this when we go out and network, that, you can see people bunching together and not talking to each other. Yeah. And it's because of, like you're saying, it was how we were indoctrinated.
We were raised that way when we were children.
People find feathers flock together kind of thing, and those feathers are different from these feathers. Yeah. But we've got to always just walk into a room and just meet everyone in every different circle. It'd be nice if you sit in one group, you can talk for a little bit, then you go to the other group. Exactly. And no group has the same person in the same group. They just keep shuffling around. Yeah, because then everybody knows each other, and you have a connection, and you care for that person. And you might make, you have networking opportunities as well. You can make business, you can make money.
It really opens things up. Because people don't know, that person next to them. They're like, man, I really needed somebody to clean my house, and I really wanted it for cheap. Somebody owns a service, and they're just starting, and they're giving discounts. You just didn't know that because you never talked to them. Exactly. It's crazy like that. That happens. You need something, and that person right next to you has what you need, exactly as you need it.
And you just didn't know.
Yeah, you didn't say anything to them, so they didn't know to tell you.
Absolutely. And
That's
it's
what's
also
funny about
funny,
it.
what I've learned being a former New Yorker is that 6 degrees of separation is oh so true. There are plenty of people that that you could identify through a 6 connection, if not quicker, that you like, oh, this stranger you're meeting is actually not really a stranger, but it's Sally's cousin who you went to high school with Sally. So it's like, you never know who you're speaking to and how you probably already know them in some way or form. So just talk to each other, guys. Like, it just, I think it's going to save our lives, to be honest. So
I think so. That's humanity's going to need that trait.
We need to get back to a place of community.
That'll help. Instead of trying to separate ourselves and say it's us versus them.
Yeah, it's always us versus them. It's one human race. Like, we got to get together. And I know this is very like a hippie moment for people.
Very,
like love.
It's like a
peace,
kumbaya. Let's sing and
but I think it's
signs.
critical because if 1.4 million people try to kill themselves 2 years ago, what's that number going to be 3 years from now?
Yeah.
Like, where are we at?
It better be going down is what we hope.
If nothing changes, it will not. I mean, that's just reality.
Yeah, that's true. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? It's scenario time. Scenario 1. Patrice lost her wife of 30 years to a terminal illness. All of her known relatives have passed, and she has no children. She feels really lonely lately and wonders why she continues with life. Does she have the right to take her life?
Oh, you started off with a hard one. Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, oh, this is
This
sad.
happens to people, too. This is a real moment.
That grief and loss, yes, moment. So, my condolences, Patrice.
All right.
For sure. I think what's really upsetting about this is that, this is probably a real life scenario for many, many people. And I think the biggest thing is you're living for you, right? You're not living for anyone else other than you. And so, yes, you lost the love of your life, but you don't know if you could have another great love. You don't know if you have an opportunity to be a face of healing the real way, helping other people to heal through their grief and their loss. And so I think what she needs to do is take a good look at her financial standing, what she's interested in, how much time she has, and figure out what are things that you always wanted to do, Patrice, that you never did. What are all the things in your life that you could do by staying alive? And what message do you have on grief that's not out there that you feel should be out there so that you and millions of other people could take it in, consume it, eat it, love it, live it, and further the movement of life and the glory that is, because life is a miracle. And if you have this miracle, why would you want to give it up so flippantly? That's my answer.
So that she should keep her life.
She should stay alive, and she needs to fight to make the rest of her life as meaningful as it was with the first 30 years with her love. Because I understand, I get it. Living without love is very challenging, but it is not worth taking the miracle of life from. It really isn't.
Yeah, she needs to finish off her days. We don't know what else is in store for her life. So that's way too...
Absolutely.
Flippant
it's
to
hard,
just take your
but
life
you
now.
Can't.
It might be painful, but
you
never know what comes next. Who might you be able to save?
And would her loved one want her to kill? No.
That's the thing.
She would be pissed off.
Yeah.
Like, she'd be like, "Are you joking with me?"
You disappoint them, right? So shouldn't do that.
You should live your life in tribute and honor to that person by living.
Scenario 2. Andrea has 6 children, and her husband is currently deployed overseas for 6 months. She just had a child a couple of months ago and is experiencing postpartum depression. She has started to wonder if they will be able to pay upcoming bills now. Does she have the right to take her life?
Does she have some type of insurance money coming, or?
Wow,
she's just,
Well,
she's just pissed off and tired and mad. Okay.
It's just that depression thing.
Okay, that situation. Yeah,
the mom's got.
So moms, right?
Yeah. Because they definitely get that. Some of them get that feeling.
Most mothers deal with postpartum. Yeah.
They all get it to
very
a different
easy.
degree.
It's a hormonal situation. So
different.
I think with this, I think being a parent, again, is a miracle, right? That is the gift of life that you've made, and you have people dependent on you and who will always be tethered to you in some way or form. And, as a mother of 6 with a young person just out of the womb, I think that she has an obligation to try to be and live the best example of a life for those children that she brought onto this planet. So, yes, she has the right to take her life, but by doing and following through with that decision, what is going to be the effect for those children? What's going to make them want to stay alive if their own mother couldn't stay alive, right? So I think that she needs to think about, yes, it might be challenging to have the bills for all of those children. Birth control. Get it right. Get your life right. A little bit. Get your life right. And, address your fertility. All right. and maybe think about how you can make more money, not end the conversation. But whenever you're dealing with a challenge, the best way to overcome this challenge is to think about the ways to overcome it, not to let the challenge overcome you, because you are always more powerful and more capable than the challenge you are facing. So stay alive. Get a birth control plan in place. Whether he gets a vasectomy, you tie your tubes, whatever, boom, boom. But no more babies. That's enough. And, have a nice cup of coffee and get your life right. And you can do this. You can get past this, baby.
I think what she has the right to do is create a business plan.
Woo! Get it?
That's what she has the right to do.
Entrepreneurship is the solution. Woohoo!
If you have 6 children, you got to figure out how to care for them.
Yeah.
You chose to bring them here, so that's your responsibility to help.
You created that responsibility for yourself.
So just beyond anything else, you're responsible for these 6 kids now.
That's why people need to think about it when they're like, I want lots of children. Do you have lots of money?
Because you can't just do things on a whim now. Like, you got to actually think about other people.
And we don't know the ages of these children. Can any of these fools work? Like, get your life, guys.
They can help with the business plan. Yeah, they'll work there. They can help her out.
Hey, if you're 14, you can go to the library, get that little job, get that paycheck, get that lunch money, and we're good.
Yeah, you can work places. So she got to figure out how to pay the bill. That's
Absolutely.
not the insurance method is not the right way. That's not how it's not going to play out there.
And those insurance companies, they're hardcore, man.
You got to be careful too. Depending on how you died, like they could actually invalidate. They can invalidate the claim and be
and a lot of times I thought suicide.
Yeah, it does. You got to be careful.
Yeah, it takes you out of the realm of earning money. So.
Yeah. So that's not the answer, no matter what. Like this is not the day. Scenario 3. Sam has a terminal illness and has extreme pain throughout his body, even when he's not moving. The doctors have suggested he use the medicinal marijuana prescription to ease the pain, but he is just sick and tired of living with this pain. Does he have the right to take his life?
Interesting that you didn't include the age of Sam here. How old is Sam?
We don't know.
Oh, wow. Okay, you're doing it like that. Okay. All right. And there's no other factors involved, right? There's not depression or girlfriend left him, none of those stuff. This is literally just a chronic pain illness situation.
A terminal illness with chronic pain, yeah.
Terminal illness with chronic pain. As previously stated in the episode, we have a right to die with dignity. We all do. And unfortunately, if Sam has this terminal illness, which means he is dying, there's no turning back from this. He has the right to transition in less pain. And if that means, taking his life as a part of that transition, then I'm for it. And I don't know Sam's age, so I don't know if I'm talking about Sam as a 12-year-old or Sam as a 99-year-old. Yeah. But, if he's going to die, then he shouldn't die and spend the rest of his days in pain. I think that's unworthy, and it's too sad to bear.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think he has the right in this case to do the physician-assisted suicide. Yeah. Because it's, that's tough to live with that extreme pain. Yeah. It seems like, I don't know, that it's a sign of something, and maybe you're just going to he has to just call it quits. Because this is tough times ahead, and anyway, you have an end date, right? You have an actual set end date.
We all have that termination date.
Yeah, so your termination date it's moved up a lot sooner than expected, and it's hard even to get to that point. So in this case, I'd say he actually does have the right to. So
to expire. Yes. I love how our energy went
that.
like up and then like down. This is a rough topic, guys, but you know what we hope from this is that if you are part of WokeNFree Nation and you're listening to this, that if there's someone in your life going through this or something similar to this, that this has hopefully provided you some type of ease, some type of comfort. If this is brand spanking new and you've never even thought about it, that it's been thought-provoking. And if you have questions and comments, put them in the comments. Go on download the Podbean app so that you can comment on the episode and share what you think so that you can join the WokeNFree Wednesday conversation. And it looks like we're at that time again as coming to the end of our 103rd episode of WokeNFree. You went the depressing way, huh?
Sorry.
Deep voices are funny.
No, they're not. This is how I speak.
Good Lord.
That's how I speak.
Lies and fairy tales you tell on the episode.
On the episode.
And this episode, we were talking all about whether people have the right to commit suicide. And again, if you missed anything or you want to revisit this, download and listen your hearts away at WokeNFree.com. That is WokeNFree.com. And download the episode and share it with your friends and family. And will we leave you hanging for what our next episode will be about? Drum roll, please.
On our next episode, we will be discussing whether you can be in love with multiple partners at the same time. Make sure you follow us on social media to follow along in the conversation, and make sure you tune in next week for WokeNFree Wednesday to join the conversation at WokeNFree.com.
We just went from a low to a high. So, can we kill ourselves to, can we beep multiple people at the same time?
Yeah.
Guys, that's how we roll here. This is a dynamic podcast like
There's lots
none
to talk
other.
about.
Oh God, we have a lifetime of things to talk about. Absolutely.
That's true.
So,
and to revisit.
and revisit for sure. So if you guys are interested in being a guest on the show, if you have a topic you want to submit, you can do all of that on our contact us page at WokeNFree.com. Please visit WokeNFree.com. If you want to holler at us on social media, find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at WokeNFree. Sponsorship alert. If you want to sponsor an upcoming episode, if you're interested in collaborating with us like that, you can find us on our contact us page at WokeNFree.com.
If you didn't already subscribe, please do. Share the episode, and make sure you come back to join the conversation every Wednesday for WokeNFree Wednesdays. Remember, WokeNFree is more than a podcast. It is a way of life. Until next time.